Hello Techies and welcome back. I am Sambhav here. This is the third part of PROC Print. If you have not seen my previous videos on PROC Print, please don't forget to check them out. If you have not subscribed my channel yet, then please do subscribe and hit the like or hit the bell icon to get the updates on the latest video. So let's get started. So in today's session, we are going to continue talking about the PROC Print. And in today's session, we are going to discuss the ID statement and buy statement in detail. And furthermore, we are going to do some practicals so that we can understand these concepts very well. So you have been seeing the syntax of PROC Print right from the first session of PROC Print. And I told you that this is really very important syntax. And I have also promised you that I'll give you a trick to remember all the statements of PROC Print and all the options with some tricks which will make learning very easy for you. So in the previous video we have talked about the var statement, we have talked about the sum statement and all. So in today's session we are going to talk about ID statement and buy statements. So let's get started with ID statement. A very simple definition of ID statement is that ID statement is used to suppress the observation column and will make a specified variable as the first column. So let's pull out the sassel.class data set. So let me print it. Proc print data is equal to sassel.class run. Now let's execute this data set. This code to see the data set. So you see this is the data set. Now what ID statement does is it basically does two things. First, it is going to suppress the observation column. So we know that by default SAS will also give us an observation column. So whenever you are using an ID statement, the first thing what an ID statement is going to do is it is going to suppress the observation column. Second important thing what it is going to do is whatever variable you are specifying with the ID statement, it is going to make that specified variable as the first column of the data set. For example, let's say for example, if I specify sex, ID sex. So what will happen? It will suppress the observation column and it will make the sex column as the first column. It will make the sex variable as the first column of the data set. So let's have a look at it. Let me just copy this piece of code so that it will help us save some time. So I will give ID sex. So what will happen is you will notice that now sex has become the first column, the sex variable, and observation column has disappeared because that is being suppressed. You can also use multiple variables. You can also use multiple variables with the ID statement. Let's say for example sex and age. So what will happen is sex will become the first column and age will be the second column of the data set. See, as you can notice here, sex has become the first column and age has become the second column of the data set. Now guys, a very simple question. Let's assume that I am not defining any variable along with the ID statement. Assume that I don't define any variable, just I write the ID statement, but I do not define any variable. Then what will happen in this situation? In this situation, what SAS will do is it is just going to suppress the observation column. It is just going to suppress the observation column. See, the variables remain in the same order and the observation column is suppressed. That is why I told you that ID statement does two things. First, it is going to suppress the observation column, and second, it is going to create, or it is going to make the specified variable as the first column. Right now guys, you know, ID statement can also become very interesting if you use style statements. Let's say for example I'm using ID, or let it be say age. Let's use age this time, and let me use some style options which will be really helpful for us, which is actually used to generate some more interesting reports and all. So I am creating this for the data, right, and equal to, and let's give it some background color, background, let the background be blue, and foreground let it be white in color, Right, now guys, what I'm trying to do is understand. So now you know that if I use id age, my age will become the first column. Now for the data values, for this data values, I am just changing some color schemes. So what did I do? I have created that data values. That means the background of that would be blue and the foreground will be white in color, right? And let us also add style for the header, right? So equals to, and let me copy this code, and I'll just need to change the color. So my background, let it be any color, yellow, YELLO, yellow, and let the foreground be black, right? And let's end this and let us try to execute this code. So now you would see that SAS has actually made my result, my report, little fancy, right? See, it has added a blue color. So style is basically used to some style options in your data sets and to make your reports look very interesting, made it very attractive. So what I've done, there are two style statements I have used. One style is for the data, that is for the data values 14, 13 and so on and so forth. And another style I have used it for the header. Very simple. So that is your age, right? And then I have added two colors for the two distinct types. One is for the background and one is for the foreground. I hope the code is pretty clear for you. All right. Now, the next statement which we are going to talk about is by statement. Now, by statement is really very useful and it gives attractive results. It is mainly used to group the data sets by unique values of the variables present in the by statement. So what it does is it is mainly used to group the data sets. So let's say, for example, let me print the sassel.class data set. It's taking some time. Okay, so this is my sassel.class data set. Now assume that I want to group this data set based on certain variables. So let's say, for example, now in order to group a data set, there are few important things which we need. First, we need to decide the category. Now the category can be decided, or we need to decide the group. How are we going to create the group? Now the groups can be created based on the values of the variable, the unique values of the variable. So let's say, for example, if I want to create a group for male and female, that means for the sex variable, the unique values are male and female, right? So that is what my by statement does. It is mainly used to group the data set. Now, when SAS is grouping the data set here, it will print the result, it will give you the result in distinct tables, in different tables for every group. That means for every group, it will create a different table. Let's say, for example, if you are trying to group the data set based on sex variable, so what will happen, it has got two unique values. So two groups will be created, one group for male, another group for female. And the results will be given in two different tables. Now, let's try to do this. Let's try to group the data set. So proc, I think I've copied that basic code. So let me copy this piece of code here, which will help me save some time. And by age, by sex. Now guys, when I execute this code, SAS will throw me some error. Yes, SAS is going to throw me some error. Can you see the red? Let's go to the log. It says that the data sassel.class is not sorted in ascending sequence. It means that in order for you to group the data set using by statement in proc print procedure, the data set must be sorted. The data set must be sorted. That means if you have to group the data set, the first step is to sort the data. Let's do that. Proc sort. We have already discussed proc sort in the previous videos. So if you have not seen the proc sort videos, please don't forget to check them out. It is really very important. Proc sort data is equal to sassel.class, and let me store the result into a new data set called as class 1, and let me sort the data set based on sex, right? Because we want to group the data set based on sex. Let me also print it print the sorted data set. Proc print data is equal to class 1 run. Let me execute the piece of code to check whether my data set has been sorted or not. So as you can see that the data set is sorted in the ascending order of sex value. That means alphabetically F appears first and then M. Now we can group this data set because based on the sex value, because now it is sorted. So what we will do, proc print data is equal to class 1 by sex run. Let's execute this piece of code. I'm sorry about the ring. Now you can see the result. The data has been sorted. It has been grouped. So it has created two groups. First one is the female and the second one is the male. And another important thing which you need to observe is, now sex variable is no more the part of the data set. I mean, you cannot say sex variable appearing in the table again, right? Sex male, so this is the second group, and no sex variable appears here, right? So that is the use of your by statement. That is what I have written. It displays the observation in the blocks. Blocks means different table, one block for each unique value, and please don't forget that the data must be sorted, right? So now let us do some more questions, or let me do one thing. Let me copy this part over here, for this style options, not the complete part. Let me just copy the style part and see the result. See, and now let's execute this piece of code and see how does the result look like. Okay, so it is not working with the style options. Syntax error, expecting one of the following, so it is not expecting, we have made a mistake here, so it does not work with the style options. Remember that. Okay guys, so I know you would like to try it over here. It can be applied in a different way. So let's say what I'm going to do is I am going to write ID sex. So in this situation, what will happen? Am I going to get the result? Am I going to get the result in this way? Let's check it out. And now you see, since we have used the ID statement and also the by statement, so the SAS is going to group the data set based on the by values of the sex. So it has created two groups, two different classes. And now since in the ID statement I have explicitly specified the sex variable, so SAS is forced to include that in the data part. And you see the color scheme also has changed and looks, I mean, not very beautiful, but somewhat okay, right? Now guys, let's solve few more questions to get a better understanding of this by statement. So these are the three questions which I'm going to solve one by one, and let's see how does it work. So the first question is, print the sassel.shoes data set to see the output result for product wise. That means we basically need to sort the data product wise for every product. Let's print the data set and see how does it look like. Proc print data is equal to sassel.shoes run. Now let me execute this piece of code. I don't know, my SAS is running slow today a bit. Generally it doesn't happen. So you see that it has got region, product, subsidiary, store, sales, inventory, returns. So many variables are here. So the question is to group the data set based on the region. So there are so many regions. We have Asia, Africa, Canada, Middle East, Pacific, United States. So we need to group the data set based, it is based on product wise. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. So let's see what is the product wise. So there are different products here: boot, men's casual, men's dress, sandal, slipper, sports shoe, women's casual. So I am going to create a group for every unique product. Let's do that. So I will have to sort the data set first. Proc sort data is equal to SASL dot shoes out is equal to shoes underscore 1. Oh, sorry. Shoes under, oh, where did I miss that? Okay, typo. Okay, shoes underscore 1 by product run. And now I'm going to group it. So I will give proc print data is equal to shoes underscore 1 by product run. Right? So you see guys, in proc sort we are using the by statement to define that the data set must be sorted based on which variable, and in the proc print we are using the same by statement to group the data set. So now let's execute this piece of code to see the result. So let's see if we have got the correct result. I'm really sorry it's taking time to give the result. So you see it has given me boot. So this is the first table. So this is the first group for the boot. And then we will have for men's casual, men's dress, and so on and so forth. So we have successfully grouped the data set based on product. Now let us try to group the data set. Let's solve the second question. So find the sum of sales and returns of SASL.shoes data set for every region. So let me add comment to this and let's solve the question. Now for every region, let us sort the data set first. Proc sort data is equal to SASL.shoes, and the sorting has to be done based on region. Run. So this will sort the data set based on region. Now we have to find the sum of sales and returns. So you see in the data set we have sales and returns. So we have to find the sum of sales and return for every region. That means what is the total sales and what is the total returns for each region. For Asia, how much it is. For Africa, how much it is. Let's solve this. This is also pretty easy. So what we will do is proc print data is equal to, oh, I have not used the out statement. Let me use it, otherwise it will overwrite the data set. Out is equal to, let's say, shoes underscore 2. So shoes underscore 2, and now I will give the by statement by region. I have to use the sum statement because I have to find the sum of sales and returns. So I've already discussed about the sum statement in the last video. So if you want, you can check them out. Now let's execute this piece of code and get the result. So if you want to learn about sum, I have made some mistake. The work shoes cannot be opened because it may not contain any columns. Oh, it's region. The variable region not found. SASL.shoes dataset out by region. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. Shoes by region. Let me execute this piece of code and let me rectify this problem. Let me see what mistake we have done here. We have region, so why it is not sorting the data set? Proc sort data is equal to, oh, it is HELP, typo, because HELP help, and now it should work fine. Let's execute this piece of code. It is really taking a long time. I don't know why this has happened for me for the first time. Okay. Now you see guys, the data has been grouped for the Africa. Let's see if it has found the sum. Yes. See, it has found the total of sales and returns. Similarly for Asia also it has done. it has found the total of sales and returns for Canada, and for rest of the region it has done. Now guys, at the end you see it is also giving you the total. This is the total for the entire data set. These are subtotals. Subtotals means totals for only for every region, but this value which is in the next row, which you're seeing, it is the total for the data set. That means for the entire data set, for every region. Now let's solve the third question. Let's solve the third question. It says group the SAS.class dataset by sex and find the sum of all the numeric variables in the dataset. Let's do it. Pretty easy, right? So we have to sort the dataset based on sex. I think we have already done that. See, and we have stored at class 1. So guys, I'm not, let me do it for you. Proc sort data is equal to SAS.class out is equal to class underscore 2 by sex. Run. And now we have to group the data set, and for every group we have to find the sum of all the numeric variables. Numeric variables are like age, height and weight. So let's do it. Proc print data is equal to class underscore 2 by sex for grouping, and we will use the sum statement. Sum statement for finding the sum of all numeric. So I don't have to specify each of the numeric variables. I can just use the option numeric. It works fine. We have also discussed that in the previous video. So if you want, you can check it out. And let's execute this piece of code and get the result. So it has created two groups for female and male. And you see for all the numeric variables, age, height and weight, it has found the sum. Similarly here, and you see this is the sum for the entire data set. These are the subtotals. Subtotals means for every group. So for female, the total for age is 119. For male, the total age is 134. And together for the entire data set, that is 119 plus 134 is 253. So this is for the entire data set, right? So we have solved all the questions. I hope you have enjoyed learning the ID statement and the by statement. So please don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon. And thank you so much for your time and patience. You have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you guys.